disrupted everything. We did what we do best. When we could no longer be together, we still found ways to stay close. When the number one goal is to help students achieve their dreams, we overcome any obstacle, bringing education and opportunity for 130 years with a resilient, caring, and creative spirit. The University of North Texas, where education never stops.
It's an amazing time to be at the University of North Texas. We're a university of nearly 41,000 students from 50 states and 130 countries. And we're proud to have more than 250,000 degree-holding graduates around the world. As we set enrollment records and award more scholarships than ever, we are committed to making a difference in our community. The UNT Kuehne Speaker Series offers a unique way to enrich lives in North Texas. A signature UNT event, the Kuehne Speaker Series features distinguished speakers who share insights and perspectives on global issues and provides a forum for engaging in community discussion.
One of the most impactful speaker series that I believe we've ever run, one that I think challenges the best speaker series anywhere in the country.
UNT established the series in 2013, fulfilling alumnus Ernie Kuehne's vision to host relevant speakers on behalf of the university. He gave an initial gift to launch the series and worked tirelessly to create a fund to sustain the series and support our students.
Twisted my arm to get me to sponsor it, which we've been thrilled to do, and frankly, it's been a remarkable success.
Proceeds from lifetime members and our loyal sponsors have helped bring outstanding, nationally recognized speakers to inform and entertain our Mean Green family and friends. Attended biannually by more than 700 alumni, sponsors, and guests, our partners and friends are able to share an unparalleled networking opportunity that supports students and academic programs at the University of North Texas. Welcome to the UNT Kuehne Speaker Series virtual event.
Welcome to the special virtual edition of the UNT Kuehne Speaker Series. I'm Dr. David Wolf, Vice President for University Advancement at UNT. It's an amazing time to be at the University of North Texas. Even through these challenging times, UNT continues to grow. We continue to set fundraising records, have incredible enrollment growth, and most importantly, we impact the lives of our students every day. Normally, at the UNT Kuehne Speaker Series, we host 2 in-person events per year, attended by hundreds of guests, sponsors, and lifetime members. This year, for the health of our participants, we have moved to a virtual format. Wherever you are, thank you for joining us today. We are excited to hear from College Football Hall of Fame coach Lou Holtz. The UNT Kuehne Speaker Series relies on the generosity of our lifetime members and sponsors. We appreciate their willingness to work with us to put on this special event today. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge our sponsors and thank them for their investment in the UNT Kuehne Speaker Series. Our annual sponsors, our series sponsors, our underwriting sponsors, and most importantly, our lifetime members and Emerald Lifetime members. All of these partners have made major commitments to ensure the sustainability of the UNT Kuehne Speaker Series. And of course, none of this would have been possible without the vision and support of our series founder, UNT alumnus, Mr. Ernie Kuehne. Thank you, Ernie. Now, I'd like to introduce our presenting sponsor, Mr. Brent Ryan. Brent, thank you for your continued support of UNT. As a longtime member of our UNT system, Board of Regents, and the incredible donor you have been to provide us the gift to create the UNT G. Brent Ryan College of Business. You are an absolute leader in higher education. So Brent, I'll let you take over with our very special guest, the legendary coach Lou Holtz.
Thank you, David. I've really been looking forward to this interview with Coach Holtz for many reasons. But one reason is that I have a daughter, Beth Ryan, attending Notre Dame, who's now a third-year student. And as a family, we get to go to South Bend as often as we can, and it's just great to be there. Coach Holtz, thank you so much for being with us today. and for working through this necessary rescheduling and reformatting of this event.
Thank you for having me, Brent. It's my pleasure to be here. I know how exciting it had to be for your daughter to be on the football field after Notre Dame beat #1 Clemson last Saturday. I have 2 granddaughters there. It makes it a very, very special place. So thank you for having me. I'm humbled to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you, and it was an awesome experience to have her texting me from the field after beating Clemson. What an awesome weekend for Notre Dame. Coach Holtz, I want to start by giving a little background. Your 1988 Notre Dame team went 12-0 with a victory in the Fiesta Bowl, and you were the consistent national champions that year. You're the only football coach ever to lead 6 programs to bowl games, and the only coach to guide 4 different programs to the final top 20 rankings. This past Saturday, the Fighting Irish were ranked number 4 nationally and beat the number 1 ranked Clemson team in an incredible overtime thriller. This reminded me of your own 1993 game of the century, where you led the Fighting Irish to a home victory over number 1 ranked Florida State. How do you think these 2 games compare?
Well, I think they're very, very similar in effect. If you look at the history of Notre Dame, they have a great tradition of beating number 1 team in that stadium. In 1988, Miami came in there. They're number 1. We beat them. That year, we beat 4 teams who were either number 1 or number 2. And if they're number 2, it's because we happened to be number 1. But Notre Dame has a great history. The only time we lost to a number 1 team in Notre Dame Stadium was the Southern Cal when the Bush push on Leinart on the last play of the game gave a quarterback sneak to snare victory away from Notre Dame. But we just have a great tradition of playing at home. And it's just something that you build on. You're supposed to be great. You come to Notre Dame not to win some of the games, not to win most of the games, to win all the games. And you're never an underdog at Notre Dame.
What an awesome legacy. So, Coach, tell us how you got your start in coaching. Like many of today's younger coaches, both college and football.
I was from a football family, Brent, but I wasn't from a group of football coaches. And I was a poor student in high school, and I had no intentions of going to college. All I wanted was a job in the mail, a girl, $5, and a car. I never had any of them. And my high school coach came up at the end of my junior year, told my parents I should go to college and be a coach. And so that's how I ended up going to college. And then after playing football at Kent State, my college coach was in the Navy with Forrest Evans-Chesky, who's one of the top coaches in the program, got me a graduate assistant at Iowa University, and that's how I ended up in college coaching. But my high school coach told my wife, he didn't tell me, he said, yeah, when I said Lou should go to college to be a coach, I meant high school. I didn't mean Notre Dame. But, you know, you just try to follow your dreams and try to find something you like to do, find something you do fairly well, find somebody to pay you to do it. If you don't find somebody to pay you to do it, you got a hobby. If you find somebody to pay you to do it, you got a career. It's that simple.
That's pretty clear. So, speaking of coaching families, you know, we were supposed to have a game here this last weekend at Apogee Stadium in Denton against our Conference USA rival, Louisiana Tech. I understand you might have had a particular interest in that game. Can you tell us more about that?
So, number one, I have great respect for the North Texas program. Skip does also. He's won 6 bowl games at Louisiana Tech. Nobody's done that before, but he was at Notre Dame. He was a senior at Notre Dame when I went there, actually at the end of his junior year. And he came in to see me during his senior year, and he said, Dad, I decided I want to go into coaches. I said, Skip, we didn't send you to Notre Dame to be a coach. I could have sent you to Kent State for $4,000 and been a coach. I sent you here to be president of a corporation. And he said, well, I want to be a coach. I said, have you told your mom yet? He said, no. I said, make sure she's unarmed because she'll shoot you if you tell her, because we didn't send you. But it was in his heart. He has a great relationship with players. When he was hired at Connecticut as a head coach, Lou Perkins, the athletic director, said, we got the best of both worlds. We got Lou Holtz's football mind, and we got his mother's personality. And he does have his mother's personality. He's very caring about players. He's in it for the right reasons. He doesn't teach football. He teaches life. And I couldn't be more proud of him. But then again, I'm proud of all 4 of our children, as my wife was. As you know, we lost my wife on June 30th of 59 years, and she's no longer with us, but we're all very proud of our children.
Lou, it's evident that you're building your own coaching family and possibly even a dynasty. Could you share with us some of the assistant coaches that have gone on to success as head coach or other leadership roles?
I've been fortunate and blessed to have good coaches. Whenever you receive recognition, as you know, Brent, somebody gave you the opportunity to do so. You look at some of the assistant coaches that I had under me, Barry Alvarez, head coach of Wisconsin, Monty Kiffin, the great defense coordinator, Pete Carroll, Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer, when he decided he wanted the Bowling Green job, and he called me and said, "Can you help me?" I said, "Yeah, I know two people at Bowling Green on the board of trustees, Bob Siebel, I played high school football with, and Mike Wilcox." So I called them both, and he got the job. He called me, he said, "Coach, I appreciate you getting me the job, but I'm going to turn it down." I said, "Oh, that's interesting, Urban. Why is that?" He said, "Well, I don't think it's a good job." I said, "It's not. If it was a good job, the other guys still be there. Good jobs don't open up. Bad jobs open up. You take a bad job, you make it a good job. And if it wasn't a good job, why would they hire you? Receiver, coach, oh, that's impressive." Well, he took the job, and the rest of his history. Great coach, great person, et cetera. So I've been blessed to have so many great assistants and great players, but more importantly, great support people in the administration, the athletic director, presidents, et cetera. I've taken over 6 college situation, never inherited a winner, never failed to go to a bowl game by the second year at the latest, never left under the same president that hired me. When they change presidents, they change your job. You're no longer their hand-picked solution.
Lou, you've built an incredible legacy as a football coach, but you've also built an incredible legacy as a great leader. Give us your thoughts on what it takes to be a great leader.
Well, I think when I went to Notre Dame, Father Joyce said, "Coach, there's certain things at Notre Dame are not negotiable. Don't think you're going to come here and change them." I said, "What are they?" So we don't take transfers. We don't redshirt. Don't have an athletic dorm. Don't have a training table. Go and play a difficult schedule. And we have a policy the head football coach cannot make more than the president of Notre Dame. And the president of Notre Dame is a priest that took them out of poverty. Now, he didn't say anything that would keep us from winning. He didn't say you can only play with 8 and everybody else has 11. What he said, there's going to be problems and difficult and obstacles in everything you do. Life is not life is nothing more than solving problems because you're always going to have them. June 22nd, 2015, I was awakened at 2:30 in the morning. Our house is on fire. It's burning to the ground. And, my wife's crying 8 o'clock in the morning, smoldering ashes. And I said to her, "You have 24 hours to cry, to feel sorry for yourself, wallow in self-pity, but come 8 o'clock Monday morning, we're never going to look back. We're going to build it bigger and better." Gave her an unlimited budget to rebuild it, and she exceeded it. She had that unique ability to do so. But you're going to have problems. And Father Hesburgh said to me, he said, "Coach, in an hour, we're going to go into that press conference. I'm going to announce to the world you're the head football coach at Notre Dame. What I cannot do, I cannot go in there and announce you're the leader of the Notre Dame football team." He said, "I can give you the title because titles come from above." He said, "The players will determine if you're a leader." I said, "What makes a leader, Father?" He said, "If you're a leader, you have a vision where you want to go. That's number one. Number two, you have to hold people accountable for the choices they make. Number three, you lead by example. And number four, you make sure everybody shares the same core values." Father Hesburgh, I asked him one day, "Why'd you make Notre Dame coeducational?" He said, "I wanted Notre Dame to be a great academic institution. And we can't do that if we eliminated one half the most talented people in this country." And that's why he made it coeducational. Today, Notre Dame is one of the top 10 academic institutions in the entire country. But if you're going to be a leader, you have a vision, you have a plan where you're going to go, you lead by example, hold them accountable, make sure everybody understands their same core values. You don't have to like one another. You don't have to like the same music, the same shirt. But if you share the same core values, that will keep you together. What keeps a country together, a family together, a team together are the core values that everybody practices and believes in, and we aren't going to compromise.
You know, Coach, I think staying with those core values is sometimes the most challenging part of leadership. And I know you've probably experienced this many times in your career, but can you tell us about a time or an instance where you had to make an unpopular decision that was because of your core values?
Well, when you realize this, and I learned this from Woody Hayes, if you're in a leadership role, your obligation is not to be well liked. Your obligation is to make the people the very best they can possibly be. And as Woody Hayes used to say, if you want a friend, buy a dog. That's the easiest thing. But you just have to make tough decisions. And I think it was 1977, my first year at Arkansas. We ended up, all we had to do was beat SMU. The last football game, we'd go play Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl for the first time in the history of the school. The last time we'd never been to the Orange Bowl. The last time we played Oklahoma, they beat us 106-0. We're at 42-14 in the fourth quarter. Fans throwing oranges on the field. Everybody's excited. He said, "What'd you think when the fans were throwing oranges on the field?" I said, "Thank God we weren't going to the Gator Bowl." Just exciting time. But then I had to suspend 3 athletes that scored 78% of our touchdowns. Now, I've never made a decision to discipline my children. I never made a decision to discipline an athlete. What I'm going to do is I'm going to enforce your choices. Wherever you are in this world, good or bad, they're going to be because of choices you make. Choose to do drugs, drop out of school, join a gang, get tattoos from head to bottom, get arrested. You're choosing to have difficulty in life and stop blaming somebody else. I didn't choose to discipline them, but I said, if you violate this do right rule, you are not going to play in the game. They violated the do right rule. They would not be allowed to play the game. I didn't go to the media, didn't say anything, but the media made it seem like it was a very trivial thing and everybody's upset with me. Everybody's mad. Obscene phone calls to my children, etc. The list goes on and on. They took me to court. The Attorney General for Arkansas, Bill Clinton, represented me. He was Attorney General at that time. We won the case. They would not be allowed to play. It was then and only then where the facts came out of why they were suspended. We became the largest underdog who's ever been in a major bowl. We were 24-point underdog to Oklahoma, which at that time was number 1 when they took it off the board. I had a team meeting a couple days before the game, and they came in. They're very desperate. They were very downhearted. I said, I know why we can't win. Every day I pick up the paper and I read about the great players from Oklahoma going to play. In the same paper, I read about the great players from Arkansas that are not going to play. But I've never read one positive comment about anybody in this room. So I know why we can't win. I want you to tell me why we can. For a while, nobody said anything. Then a young man got up, our tight end, said, "Coach, we have the number 1 defense in the country," which we did. He said, "So we aren't going to get beat near as bad as everybody thinks." Well, it wasn't what I wanted, but it was a step in the right direction. Then they pointed out we had a great competitor quarterback, great offensive line, great punter, great place kicker. I wanted to say they had a great coach. It never came up. But when they left the room, it was a different team. Why? They focused on why we could do something, listen to everybody tell us why we can't. Too many people in this world are always looking, well, we can't do that because of this. Start looking for reasons why you can do something. 3 days later, we beat Oklahoma 31-6 in the Orange Bowl. That changed my life all the way around. And that's where the 3 rules became and gained great notoriety around the country. To do right, do the best you can, show people you care. That's all you need.
Wow, Coach, that's just an outstanding example of living your core values and staying true to what you believe in. So thanks for sharing that. In addition to leadership, as a coach, it's extremely important to have the ability to evaluate talent and help underperforming athletes. In our audience today, there are many business owners and leaders whose talent evaluation skills can either make or break them and their companies. As a recruiter and a coach, your assessment of talent and your ability to improve underperformers is legendary. What questions do you ask yourself when you're selecting talent or helping underperformers? And how do you think that carries over into the world of business?
I'm glad you brought that up. 4 years ago, I was appointed as vice president of a company called Zotec with 1,000 employees. And things were a little bit hesitant. Things weren't going particularly well the way they liked. And we instituted these 3 rules. These 3 rules for everything. And I don't know why we complicate life. We don't have to. Do you realize there are only 7 colors of the rainbow? Look what Michelangelo did with 7 colors of the rainbow. There's only 7 musical notes. Look what Beethoven did with 7 musical notes. There's only 10 numbers. Look what Bernie Madoff did with 10 numbers. So it doesn't always have to be good, but it doesn't have to be complicated. And I came up many years ago with 3 rules. And you follow these 3 rules for my children, for me, for our players, for everybody I'm around. You will never need a 4th rule. And you got to keep life simple so you can get things done. Rule number 1 is just do what's right. You do what's right and avoid what's wrong. There's never right time to do the wrong thing, never wrong time to do the right thing. You figure out what's right. It's right to be honest, right to be on time, right to be loyal. It's wrong to practice sexism, racism, spousal abuse. It's wrong to feel guilty. It's wrong to do those things. So just do the right thing. And if you do the right thing, you're going to build trust with your people. You cannot have a relationship in business, in a family, or in a football team if it's not based on trust. It has to be based on trust. And the only way I know you can generate trust on a consistent basis if everybody consistently does the right thing, not because somebody's looking, not because somebody's going to award you, but it's just the way you live. That's our rule number 1. Rule number 2, we're going to do everything the very best of our ability. Not everybody can be All-American. Not everybody be All-Conference. Not everybody be first team, but everybody can be the best you're capable of being. That's how I feel, whether you're talking about your class group, whether you're talking about football, or whether you're talking about life in general. Whatever we're going to do, let's do it the best of our ability. And if you want to fail, you have the right to fail. You do not have the right to cause other people to fail because you don't do everything to the very best of your ability. People ask me, what's the difference between athletes today and 40 years ago? The same difference in society. Today, everybody wants to talk about their rights and their privileges. 40 years ago, we talked about our obligations, our responsibility. You join a team. You join a business. You join the military. You bring a child to the world. You join a spouse. You have obligation, you have responsibilities. I would say the team. We have a goal, and you have a role. And I expect you to fulfill that goal to the very best of your ability so you don't jeopardize our ability to reach that goal. Whatever your role is, you may not like it, but that role is important. I don't care how small it is. I don't care if you're covering kickoffs. I don't care if you're a 3rd string backup. You just do it the best of your ability and be ready, or you're going to cause other people to fail, and you don't have the right to do that. And the 3rd rule we have is show people you care. And I believe this sincerely. If you can build love and feeling in an organization, it cannot be broken. That's why we say, show people you care. Everybody needs a kind word, a smile, and encouragement. My wife, as I said, is a cancer survivor and passed away a few months ago. But she would always say she never did interviews. And finally, she did one interview because it had to do with cancer. And I'll never forget, they said, what did you learn from having cancer? She said, I learned how much my family loved me. We didn't love her anymore. We showed it. Why do we have to wait for somebody to have a catastrophe, for somebody to have difficulty before we reach out and let them know we care? And I told my wife every day after that, I love you, and you can't do a doggone thing about it. We loved her as much, but we never showed it. And that's really a shame that sometimes the only good things anybody says is at your funeral. And my wife would get mad at me. She said, how can you talk about caring about people with a bumper sticker on your car? And I'm embarrassed to say this, but I haven't. It's quite a conversation stopper. I'll be at a red light. I look up in the mirror and people get out and take a picture of my bumper sticker. I go to church on Sunday. She made me park in the back of a lot so people couldn't see it. Bumper sticker said, Jesus loves you. Everybody else thinks you're an asshole, but just show people you genuinely care. And that's all. Now, if you do those 3 things, if you do the right thing, people can always trust you. If you do everything the best of your ability, they know you're totally committed to excellence. And if you always show them you genuinely care, you're going to build a love and a feeling and a caring in the organization. And those are the only 3 things you need. And this is what I'd like the people to do. This is how simple it is and how strongly I believe in it. I want everybody listening to take 2 people. Take somebody you love, admire, and respect, and take somebody you got a problem with. Can be anybody in this world. Put these 3 questions on both people. Simple yes or no. Can you trust them, yes or no? They committed excellence, yes or no? Do they care, yes or no? I guarantee the person you admire and respect, you just said yes to all 3 questions. Person you got a problem with, you pinpointed the problem. If you can't trust them, they aren't committed, they don't care. Now, when that happens, you as a leader sit down and say, Skip, I don't believe you're doing the best you can in Spanish 2. Here's why. Got an A in Spanish 1, a D in Spanish 2. You missed class 3 times, study all twice, tutor once. I don't believe that's best you can do, and I want to know why. You never attack the performer. But as a leader, you have an obligation to attack the performance. And by doing it this way, and remember this with younger people today, I'd be a better coach than I've ever been before. Because what you say to somebody is important. But what you say is not near as important as your tone of voice. Your tone of voice is not near as important as your facial expression. The madder I get now with my grandchildren, etc., the more I smile, the softer I speak, but I don't lower the standard. I am not going to lower the standard because I'm doing a disservice to those people. But say, Jim, that was a dumb thing to do. You have no idea how mad I am. You're going to find out at practice on Monday, but that's just not the way we do things here, son. They're very temperamental, but you cannot lower the standard on a Brit.
Well, Coach, I can see how those questions are essential keys to anyone who leads people and whose success depends on the performance of others. Lou, what about ourselves and our own lives? Do you have rules that you live by that we could apply to our own lives, both personally and professionally?
I definitely do. I think that the most important thing is let's have some goals. You know, I never had any goals growing up. My dad had a third grade education. I was born in a basement during the Depression. We had one bedroom for my sister, myself, and my parents. A kitchen had a half bath, and the half bath did not have a tub, a shower, or sink. We lived there for 7.5 years till we went in the Navy. There was no welfare, no food stamps, no safety net. But I say I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth because I was born in this country. And I was taught that if I was willing to work hard and get an education and make good choices, then I could have good things happen to me. But the problem was I never had any big goals growing up, and that was a mistake. I remember in the second grade, Sister Mary Baptiste asking everybody, what do you want to be? I want to be a lawyer, a policeman. I want to be a garbage collector. And she said, that was weird. I said, but they only work on Tuesdays. That's all I do. I just work one day a week. That's the job I want. But all of a sudden, I ended up in coaching. It still didn't have an awful lot of goals. And one day, when I was unemployed, my wife bought me a little magic book, The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz, a paperback book, and he talked about goals. And I sat down and read the book and made out 5 columns, things I want to accomplish as a husband and father. My greatest accomplishment by far is my family, and I say that sincerely. The best advice I ever got when our first daughter was born, Dr. George Oliver said, the most important thing you can do, show that child how much you love their mother. I've never said a negative word to my wife or about my wife in front of the children. Now, in the bedroom, that's different. Column number 2 was things I want to accomplish religiously. God's important in my life, but I don't preach it and I don't lecture it. But I hope the way I live my life reflects the faith I have in God. Column number 3 was things I want to accomplish financially. You never want to be real rich, but I never want to be real poor. Column number 4, things I want to do professionally. I want to be a head coach. I want to coach at Notre Dame. I want to win national championship. I want to be in Hall of Fame. Column number 5 was things I want to do for excitement, just things you do. To say you did. I want to jump off an airplane. I was an officer in the Army. I've been to Afghanistan, Iraq, visited with the troops. I had to wear a 35-pound flak jacket, a helmet, and had an expert rifleman with me. And when I got home, my wife said, were you ever scared? I said, not till I landed in Chicago. That's the first time I got scared. But I wanted to land on an aircraft carrier, go on a submarine, be on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, want to go whitewater raft on the Snake River, want to make a hole one, play the greatest golf course in the world, go to the White House for dinner, want to visit with the Pope, I want to go to Pamplona and run with the bulls with a slower person. But I had 107 of them listed. She came home and she had to get a job, so we made 108. We've done 102 of them. But goals are critical. Goals are what motivates you. And I would say this we did this with Zotec. I did it with our football team. What's our goals? Okay, we want to be the best. We want to be one of the top 20 companies to work for in Indiana, which we've since achieved, or we want to win a conference championship. Okay, then answer these questions honestly. If everybody sets your goals, better answer these questions honestly. What financial price am I willing to pay to do this? What sacrifice am I willing to make in order to achieve this goal? What bad habits do I have to get rid of in order to achieve this goal? What skills and talents do I have to acquire in order to achieve this goal? Who do I have to work with in order to achieve this goal? And what's my plan? So everything starts with a goal. And if you have that goal, have a plan how you're going to do it, but you aren't going to do it without working with other people. And that's why if you can build a trust and a commitment and a love in the organization, you got a chance to get things done. I cannot begin to emphasize how important that is to want to accomplish something. See, everybody needs four things in your life you're going to feel a tremendous void. Everybody needs someone to love. Everybody needs something to do. Everybody needs someone to believe in. But everybody needs something to hope for. And if you don't have something to hope for, you're going to have a tremendous void in your life. And if the people remember this, there's a rule in life, you're either growing or you're dying. Grass is growing or dying, so's a tree, and so's a business, so's a person. Doesn't have a thing to do with age, has everything to do. And by trying to accomplish something, by trying to do things. And at my age, that's one of the problems you run into, Brett. You just, what am I trying to accomplish? What are my goals? Rather than just worry about your health or about your golf game, how can I make a difference in people's lives? I would say to people all the time, if you didn't show up, who would miss you and why? If you didn't come to work, would we miss you and why? If our company went out of business, would our customers miss us and why? If American Airlines went out of business, you wouldn't miss them because you go fly Delta and they'd be late also. But you miss Disney because you want to be unique. And the only people you miss are those that add value to other people's lives. And the one that add value to other people's lives are those that you can trust, those that are committed, and those that are care. And so that's just how I keep my life simple. And you know what? It has never let me down. I've never said I need a fourth rule or this or that.
Well, Coach, it's certainly not let you down. Those are fantastic rules to live by for sure. And, as I think about rules to live by, we're all facing the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. College and professional sports are no exception. The effects are obvious for fans, for television, and for revenue streams, but what about the less obvious but serious issues such as long-term health effects on student athletes?
I think that you have to be overly concerned with the welfare of the athletes. That's your number one obligation. I never had a problem with heat, even though I coached in the South much of the time, because I tell them at the first meeting, gentlemen, you're responsible for your health. I'm not. When you're sick, I don't. When you don't feel good, I don't. You get all the water you want. Anytime you don't feel good, you don't need my permission or assistant coach's permission to go see the trainer. You aren't going to press me by passing out. You're just going to press me on WR, and I don't have time to come to the hospital to visit with you. And furthermore, it behooves you to know I only give mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on girls over 21 and under 30, and you don't qualify. So if you're there, you got to understand. They got to understand it's not just my responsibility, it's theirs as well. And they have to understand that if they don't feel good or if something's wrong, they've got to go see the doctor, not trying to impress me. This is too important for your future. Yes, football is important, but it's not as important as your life. And let's just make sure we're doing the right thing. I learned more on a football field than I ever learned in a college classroom by far. And football has so many great advantages to it about teamwork and about getting up off the ground and about persevering and about fighting through struggles and difficulties and counting on other people. These are great lessons you learn. But if it's going to hurt their physical well-being, it's not worth it. But I do think that can be handled.
Well, Coach, I tell you, you've come up with some great rules to live by, no doubt. That last one, I'm going to remember that one for sure. So, the game's changing, and it's interesting. I'd like your perspective on the Fair Pay to Play Act and what's happening with this NCAA move to allow players to be compensated for their image or likeness. And what do you think that's going to be? What effects is it going to have on the game, and how do you think it's going to be handled?
It's not going to have a positive effect on the game. I've always believed that a player should be paid. He definitely should be paid if he works at Walmart, McDonald's, something like that, but not if he goes to college. You go to college to get an education. You go to college to learn, not to learn something, to learn to be somebody. And when you go to college and your education is paid for, you have an opportunity to develop your skills and talents. Maybe go on and play professional football. There's no guarantee about that. Most of you won't. But you come there to get an education. You're going to have wonderful relationships with people. You're going to be adored by the student body, worshipped, et cetera, as an athlete for a period of time. But that is the reason you go there. You're going to leave without a $100,000 bill that you owe from borrowing money in order to pursue your education. You're going to get it paid for. And then when you start paying athletes, what happens to the women's athletics? What happens to women's soccer? What happens to women's softball? Let's not be selfish about this. You're there to get an education. That's all. You don't want to get an education and go work. You want to make money, go somewhere else. And don't tell me about you don't have an awful lot of money. I never had much money in college. I mentioned my dad had a third grade education. I'm in college and people say, boy, you need a haircut. I don't need a haircut. Go look in the mirror. I don't look in the mirror. I looked at my wallet. My wallet told me whether I need a haircut or not somebody looking in the mirror. You do with what you have with. And the minute we learn that we've got to discipline ourselves and not just have the things we want to have, we got to be willing to work for them, be willing to accept them, and be willing to make sure that we have to make choices. I remember when we were first married, we were on a budget. We had no money. It's a question, do we get a Miller album or do we get peanuts? And we decided on the Miller album. We couldn't buy both, but that was a choice we had to make. You can't always have everything you want, but if you make the sacrifice now, eventually you will be able to do so.
You know, Coach, that's hard to argue with. I think you're absolutely right. And, you know, another topic that I'd like your perspective on, you know, we've seen just a remarkable upheaval in our country this year due to the George Floyd incident. And I'd like your thoughts on, is it appropriate for, you know, student and professional athletes to use the games as a platform to express their social views? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that a coach's obligation is to solve that problem before it arrives. It's the first meeting of the year. I always told them this. Gentlemen, we will not use this football team to do anything but promote the university. We're not going to promote it to use it to promote gay rights. We are going to use it to promote abortion. We're going to use it to promote the football team. Now, if you want to do that on your own, you want to support abortion, gay rights, God bless you. Go after it. I'll support you completely on your own. But we aren't going to use our football program to do that. That's wrong. We use it to promote the university only. And we're going to stand for the national anthem because there are too many people that fought and died to keep us free. And if you don't want to do that, that's your choice. But I'm telling you that this is what we believe, how we stand for, and it doesn't have anything to do. You want to do it on your own, God bless you. I'm not keeping you. But we aren't going to use the football program to do that. You can mark me as undecided.
Coach, where were you last Tuesday when we really needed you? Lou, one final question. We've learned many valuable insights today that we can apply to be successful leaders. Do you have any final words of wisdom you'd like to share with us?
Well, I just think it's having a faith and a belief in yourself. Everything starts with self-confidence. We always have a tendency to look at the things we do wrong or negative or things that go poorly and say, oh, this is too bad, etc. But I think it's just absolutely critical that we have a plan and we have things that we want to accomplish, and we try to keep it simple. Those three rules with our children, with our football players, with me, et cetera, have never let me down. And I've always said this, you know, if you want to be happy for an hour, eat a steak. You want to be happy for a day, play golf. You want to be happy for a week, go on a cruise. But to me, going on a cruise like being in jail, except you have a chance to drown. But if that's what you want to do, God bless you. You want to be happy for a month, buy a new car. You want to be happy for a year, win the lottery. You want to be happy for a lifetime, make sure people would miss you if you didn't show up. And the only people we miss are those you can trust and are committed and care. And we all have more talent and ability than we think we're capable of doing and helping other people. And I tell you, if you can develop a love, and I'll close on this story. We won the national championship at Notre Dame, and we go to the White House. We take a charter plane back to South Bend the same day. And I'm awakened at midnight by the police to tell me that Bobby Satterfield died of a congenital heart defect that day. He was at the White House the afternoon. He died that night. Wasn't a trace of alcohol or drugs in his body. So I called the school operator and said, I want you to tell every football player what a team meeting. It's 7:30 in the morning before classes. I go in there and they're in a great mood. They thought I was going to resign. And I said, Ben, last night, Bobby Satterfield died of a congenital heart defect. One player passed out. Almost every player in that room cried real tears. If you're in that room, you couldn't tell if Bobby Satterfield was white or black, offense or defense, first team or third team. What you could tell is they lost a friend. Bobby Satterfield was a black defensive back from Los Angeles, third team walk-on. I couldn't put on the film and say, watch Bobby Satterfield help us win. He wasn't a great player, but he's a great teammate. Players come and go, teammates last a lifetime. But I will say this, when Bobby Satterfield was in the game, I was confident we would win by 30 because if we weren't ahead by 30, he wasn't in the game. But the point I made, what made that team great was I didn't love somebody because of what they could do for them. I loved him because he was a teammate. He was part of us. He's part of our family. And that's what that third rule will build and respond. It's just not complicated. As I said, I went to school to eat my lunch, no other basic reason.
Well, Coach, those are fantastic words of wisdom. Thank you so much for being here to share them with us. And before we go, we'd like to show our appreciation to you for being such an incredible part of the Kuehne Speaker Series. The work I'm holding is named Spirit Key, and it's a reproduction of the larger original sculpture, which was created by renowned wildlife sculptor Kent Olberg and unveiled in 2011 at Apogee Stadium in Denton. Spirit Key has become a symbol of pride and tradition for the UNT family, and it's our honor to present this to you as a show of our gratitude and appreciation.
Well, thank you. I'm very humbled. And I'm just sorry I couldn't be there in person. I love the Dallas area. I love Denton. But I'm humbled to have somebody as old as I am be with you. And I was glad I could share some different thoughts and ideas. And I will cherish that. Thank you for awarding it to me.
Lou, we'll cherish this experience as well. It's been incredible, and we appreciate it so much. Now I'd like to invite David Wolf back to join us.
Wow. Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Coach Holtz, for an incredible talk and perspective on leadership and the importance of relationships in our lives. And thanks to all of you for joining us today for this very special Kuehne Speaker Series virtual event. We'll be back at the Renaissance at Plano Legacy West when we're able to hold our next in-person event. Thank you again to all of our sponsors. And for those of you with us for the first time today, we hope you had a great experience. Join us as a sponsor as we continue to bring the nation's top speakers. Again, thank you, have a great day, and most importantly, go Mean Green.